up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reading 4 inspirational Christian stories. So let's jump right into this. When I was a child, my mother had little patience with pouting, bad attitudes, and complaining. She would say, "A smile is just a frown turned upside down." She was a master at changing a negative thought into a positive one without our realizing what she was doing. She had a story for every occasion. My brother and I loved these stories without realizing she was teaching us how to live according to Bible truths. For example, when I was a teenager and wanted something my parents could not afford, she told about her high school years when she could never go to ball games until after halftime because she didn't have 15 cents for a ticket. She would wait in the hall, and when her friends would ask her to sit with them, she would say, "Save me a seat, I'll be there in a minute." She was embarrassed to give the real reason. My mother would say, "My parents sacrificed to send me to high school and did not realize little things like ball games were important. I never want you to feel left out like I did." Somehow, stories like this made me realize how much I had and helped me to accept what I could not have. I was grateful I had parents who loved and understood me and never left me in the hall until the half of any game. My mother was also a firm believer that if you were discouraged or defeated, the cure was doing something for someone else. This was brought to mind one day when I visited Miss Downey, a 95-year-old who rode the bus to every Sunday until she had a stroke. I visited her regularly until she went to heaven. Her mind was clear, but her body confined her to a room. She missed going to church and would cry when I mentioned church. One day she greeted me with a broad smile and showed me 2 letters she had received since my last visit. She wanted me to read them both, and I noticed they were from ladies in our church. I asked her how she knew them. "Oh, I've never met them, but they took the time to write and tell me they were praying for me." Tears were running down her cheek. Conviction smote me, and I thought of how many times I allowed Satan to defeat me by my focusing on my problems. Instead, I could spend a few minutes to write a letter or send a postcard or a get well card to a shut-in I know or don't know. I also have discovered that God agrees with my mother, or is it the other way around? Proverbs 25:25 says, "As cold waters to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a far country." The language of love is understood by all. So most of my college finances were covered by an academic scholarship, a part-time job in the college library, and some money I had borrowed from my parents, which I paid back in its entirety. I still had times when I needed to pray for money. It was a blessing to watch Philippians 4:19 at work in my life. "But my God shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus." One day, my voice teacher instructed me to buy a book, which would cost $2. That day, I was completely broke. That very day, in the mail came a letter from my Aunt Cora, and you guessed it, she had enclosed 2 $1 bills. Another day, when I was not even in need, I received a letter from my missionary relatives, Uncle Sam and Aunt Meta, who serve the Lord faithfully in India. They wrote a sweet note to me, letting me know they remembered with much gratitude how my daddy and mother had sacrificed to help them as they were getting started on the mission field. Because of my parents' investment in them, they wanted to do something for me, and they enclosed a check for $200 to be of help to me. I was excited, but I also realized and knew that daily I was benefiting from the investments of others in my life. I also learned that God provides. My situation is not unique. God enjoys providing for and taking care of his children. Quite possibly you have memorized Philippians 4:19. Now you can live by it. It's true that God loves you. It is also important to be on both sides of the giving philosophy. We should be both givers and receivers. Just as others invest in us, we ought to invest in others when we are able to do so. Proverbs 3:27 is a great guide for us to help others. Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. It is also a wonderful truth that God allows others to benefit from our generosity. I benefited from my parents' generosity to my Uncle Sam and Aunt Meta. Realize that one day your children will benefit from your generosity. Goodness is only investment that never fails. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Proverbs 17:22a. In 1974, while stationed in Alaska, we had a daughter born with a rare spinal deformity. She and I were whisked off to Tacoma, Washington on a medevac flight. I was to be there only 4 days and ended up being there for 3 months. In the meantime, my husband was transferred to Fort Carson, Colorado. My other 2 children were sent to Indiana to be with my parents. Through all these unsettling days, God gave me abundant laughter when I thought I just could not take any more. I was given a place to stay in a guest house that was connected to the hospital. That dormitory guest house was filled with people who had heartaches, anguish, and pain almost unimaginable. The military sent the seemingly hopeless cases to be attended by the top specialists at this major medical center. The military wives drew together in a common bond, which seemed to be sick loved ones and no money. I remember vividly that early October in Washington, about 30 guest rooms shared one small kitchenette. As several of us were sitting around the table, we started to discuss the beautiful apples outside the day room window, laughing about how the Army just let the apples go to waste. One wife said, "Let's make applesauce." We all agreed and scurried to our rooms to get what we had accumulated. 400 packets of sugar, plastic forks, paper plates, and a paring knife we had purchased for $1.19 at the PX. For the making of applesauce, visualize 17 women in that tiny kitchenette peeling apples, ripping open individual packets of sugar, and trying to forget for a few minutes that our various loved ones were suffering. As we laughed and enjoyed one another, suddenly it became apparent that we had peeled and corned enough applesauce to feed the whole U.S. Army. Our hysterical laughing and enjoyment of one another lifted our spirits. Then she entered the kitchen, yelling and screaming about how heartless and uncaring we were. She proceeded to tell us that she had just had surgery and was in the room above us trying to rest. Of course, we were sobered immediately. Jean, whose husband had congestive heart failure, gave up her chair to her. Lucinda, who was grieving the death of her baby and was financially unable to go home, gave her a glass of water. Stephanie began to apologize and try to be a comfort. Stephanie's husband had been in a Jeep accident in Turkey. I sat with them many times in the mess hall dining room as he told her, "Thank you, Mommy," after she cut up his meat and prepared his meal. His mental age was now 10. The same Stephanie weepingly apologized over and over for a rowdiness and asked, "What kind of surgery did you have?" To which the woman answered, "A facelift. Probably we should not have done it, but we lost it," and laughed until the tears came. I believe that laughter was from God at a time when I had thought I can take no more. As you face your trials, heartaches, and disappointments, I encourage you to keep a merry heart. Laughter truly is a great medicine. Beware of the garbage disposal network that is alive and will be alive as long as there are hurt people who have not given their hurt to God and have not developed a daily walk with God. We should pray for these folks, but run from conversations with them. Very few Christians have a strong enough walk with the Lord to enable them to turn the conversation to the good without leaving the hurt person more deeply hurt. First, we need to be sure we are appropriating the love of God to ourselves in such a way that we are not a chief member of this network. Following are some ways to help recognize people of the garbage disposal network. They want to get you alone for a little talk as soon as they see you. They never seem to know about the good things that have been happening. They don't seem to want to hear about a big day at church, a good book just published, or someone getting saved. They often start out with an innocent-sounding question such as, "What do you think about a person in trouble?" or to someone they are wanting to discuss. The good doesn't seem to faze them because it seems as if their minds are so focused on the bad that they don't even hear the good. They seem to shrug off the good and go right back to the rundown of the bad. They seem to want desperately to be understood and yet show so little understanding of those who have disappointed them. In the Christian world, these folks tend to dwell on a few Christian leaders who have fallen. Sensational divorces, seldom mentioning the hundreds of fine Christian leaders and marriages they know. You will find these people in every walk of life, on the job, in the church, or in a family. I plead with you to have compassion on them, but not to let them ruin your life, or even your disposition for the day. If you are ever able to make a difference in their lives, it will most likely not be because of the time you spent listening to them, but because you have compassion making a difference. Jude 22. The greatest of faults is to be conscious of none. That was 4 inspirational Christian stories. Hope you enjoyed these stories and that they have inspired you. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to get notified when I upload every Friday. See you next Friday.